Have you ever wondered why you keep making the same dua, sometimes with tears in your eyes, yet your situation looks exactly the same? You ask Allah to fix your marriage, increase your risk, remove your pain, open a door, or bring peace into your heart. But the days keep passing and nothing seems to move. You start asking yourself, why isn't Allah changing this? But what if you have been asking the right question in the wrong direction? What if the greatest change you are asking Allah to make around you is connected to a change He is asking you to make within you? What if the closed door, the repeated struggle, the difficult relationship, or the delayed answer to your dua is not simply about what is happening outside of you, but about something Allah wants you to discover inside of you? In Surah Ar-Ra'd, Allah gives us a powerful principle. He does not change the condition of a people until they change what is within themselves. That means sometimes the answer does not begin with a different circumstance. Sometimes it begins with a different heart, a different intention, a different response, and a different relationship with Allah. So before you ask, Ya Allah, when will you change my situation? Ask yourself something much deeper. Ya Allah, what are you trying to change in me? Because you may be waiting for Allah to open a door while He is preparing you to walk through it. You may be asking Him to remove the struggle while He is using the struggle to transform you. And you may think nothing is changing, when in reality Allah is beginning with the one thing that could change everything. Allah may be preparing you before changing your situation. Sometimes what feels like a delay is actually preparation. We often think that once Allah answers our dua, our problem will immediately disappear. But Allah knows what will happen after the answer arrives. He knows whether we are truly ready to carry the blessing we are asking for. You may be asking for a better marriage while still struggling with insecurity, anger, or the need to be appreciated. You may be asking for financial increase while still lacking the discipline to manage what you already have. You may be asking for peace while holding on to habits, attachments, or patterns that continue disturbing your heart. Perhaps Allah is using this waiting period to build something inside you first. Maybe He is teaching you patience before giving you responsibility, humility before giving you success, or emotional strength before giving you the relationship you have been praying for. The delay does not necessarily mean that Allah has ignored your dua. It may mean there is a part of you that still needs to grow before you can carry what you are asking for in the way that is best for you. So instead of asking only, when will Allah change my situation? Ask yourself a deeper question. Who do I need to become before that change arrives? Because sometimes Allah is not simply preparing a new situation for you. He is preparing you for the new situation. And one day you may look back and realize that the waiting was not keeping the blessing away from you. It was preparing you to receive it without allowing the blessing to change you for the worse. You must change what is within you before your circumstances change. One of the hardest truths to accept is that we often ask Allah to change everything around us while overlooking what is happening inside us. We ask for a better relationship, more peace, more money, or a new beginning, but rarely stop to ask whether our own thoughts, habits, reactions, and intentions are contributing to the situation we are trying to escape. Allah tells us that He does not change the condition of a people until they change what is within themselves. And this should make us look inward before we keep looking outward. This does not mean every hardship is your fault, but it does mean that every hardship can become an opportunity to examine yourself. Maybe your situation is teaching you patience, removing your dependence on people's approval, exposing your anger, or showing you an attachment that has become stronger than your trust in Allah. The circumstances may not change immediately, but when you begin changing from within, you are no longer facing the same situation as the same person. So before asking, why hasn't Allah changed this? Ask yourself, what is Allah asking me to change within myself? Sometimes the first change Allah wants to make is not in your surroundings, but in your heart, your character, and your relationship with Him. Stop treating the symptoms and find the seed of the problem. Many times we ask Allah to remove what is hurting us without stopping to understand what is causing it. We ask Allah to take away our anger, fix our marriage, remove our anxiety, or change a difficult relationship. But we focus only on what we can see on the surface. Yet the visible problem may only be a symptom of something much deeper inside us. The real question is not always, How do I stop this? But why does this keep happening in me? Maybe your anger is not simply anger. Perhaps beneath it is a need to be respected, appreciated, or in control. Maybe your jealousy is connected to insecurity. Maybe your frustration comes from expectations that you have never questioned. The source video emphasizes the importance of looking beyond the behavior and examining the deeper seed behind it. This is where real self-examination begins. Instead of only asking Allah to remove the symptom, ask Him to show you its root. What am I afraid of? What am I expecting from people? What is my ego protecting? Why does this situation trigger me so deeply? These questions may be uncomfortable, but they can reveal the part of you that actually needs to change. Because when you only treat the symptom, the same problem can return in another form. But when you confront the seed, you begin changing the person who keeps producing the same reaction. Sometimes the answer to your dua begins with discovering what has been hidden inside you all along. External change means nothing without internal transformation. Taking action is important, but changing your behavior on the outside does not always mean that you have changed on the inside. You can read books, attend courses, listen to lectures, apologize, make promises, and try different techniques to improve your situation, yet still carry the same anger, insecurity, resentment, ego, or hidden expectations within you. The outside may look different for a while, but eventually the same inner problem finds its way back into your life. For example, someone may try to repair a marriage by becoming more attentive, giving gifts, communicating better, or changing certain habits. These actions can be good, but if deep inside he still needs constant appreciation, feels entitled to a certain response, or becomes angry whenever his efforts are not recognized, then the deeper problem has not truly changed. The behavior improved, but the heart behind the behavior remained the same. Real transformation happens when the change begins inside and then naturally appears through your actions. You are not simply pretending to be patient, you are becoming more patient. You are not just hiding your anger, you are learning what feeds it. You are not only acting kindly because you want a certain result, you are becoming someone whose kindness comes from sincerity and faith. So do not only ask, what should I do differently? Ask, what needs to become different within me? Because external change can make you look different for a moment, but internal transformation changes who you are. And when the person changes, the way he thinks, reacts, loves, struggles, and responds to life begins to change with him. Your intention determines the reality behind your actions. Sometimes the action you are taking is not the real problem. The deeper question is why you are doing it. Two people can perform exactly the same good deed, say the same kind words, make the same sacrifice, or show the same kindness. Yet the reality behind those actions can be completely different because their intentions are different. One person may be doing it to receive appreciation, attention, or something in return, while another may be doing the same thing purely for the sake of Allah. From the outside, their actions may look identical, but inside, they are being driven by completely different motivations. This becomes especially important when we are trying to change something in our lives. Imagine a husband who decides to become more patient with his wife. He stops arguing, brings her gifts, speaks more gently, and tries harder to make the marriage better. On the outside, it looks like real transformation. But then one day, she does not appreciate his effort. She does not say thank you. She does not respond the way he expected. Suddenly, the kindness disappears, the frustration returns, and he feels that all his efforts were wasted. This reveals something important. Perhaps the action was never completely free from expectation. He was doing something good, but somewhere inside he was waiting for a reward from the other person. This is where sincerity becomes a serious test. It is easy to do good when people notice, appreciate, praise, or reward you. The harder test is to continue doing good when nobody notices. Can you remain patient when nobody thanks you? Can you remain kind when your kindness is not returned? Can you fulfill your responsibility when the other person does not respond the way you hoped? Can you control your anger even when your ego is telling you that you deserve an apology first? These moments expose the real condition of the heart. Doing something for Allah does not mean you allow people to disrespect you, ignore your needs, or take advantage of your kindness. It means that your obedience to Allah is not dependent on how people respond to you. You can communicate your needs, establish boundaries, and still choose to act with ihsan because your ultimate reason for doing what is right is greater than human approval. When your intention becomes connected to Allah, your good actions become more stable because they are no longer controlled by other people's reactions. This is also why changing your intention can completely change the way you experience the same situation. Before, you may have thought, I am doing all of this because I want them to appreciate me. So every time appreciation was missing, you felt hurt and angry. But when the intention becomes, I am doing this because Allah loves me to fulfill my responsibility with sincerity, the same action begins to feel different. You are no longer constantly checking whether someone has rewarded you emotionally. You are doing what is right because you know Allah sees what nobody else sees. And sometimes this is the hidden transformation Allah is asking from you. You may be asking Allah to change your marriage, your family, your circumstances, or another person, while Allah is teaching you to purify the reason behind your own actions. Maybe you don't need to stop being kind. Maybe you need to stop making kindness transactional. Maybe you don't need to stop helping people. Maybe you need to stop needing their approval before you feel valuable. Maybe you don't need to stop giving. Maybe you need to learn how to give without secretly keeping a record of everything you have done for someone. Ask yourself honestly, would I still do this if nobody thanked me? Would I still be patient if nobody noticed? Would I still make this effort if the only one who knew about it was Allah? These questions can reveal more about your heart than any outward behavior ever could. Because true transformation is not simply changing what you do. It is changing why you do it. And when your intention changes for the sake of Allah, your actions become stronger. Your heart becomes less dependent on people, and your relationship with Allah becomes the foundation of the person you are becoming. That is the kind of internal change that can eventually transform everything you do on the outside. Allah may be protecting you while you feel completely stuck. There are moments in life when you make dua again and again, take every step you know how to take, and still nothing seems to change. A door remains closed, a problem continues, a relationship does not improve, or the opportunity you desperately wanted never arrives. In those moments, it is easy to believe that Allah is not responding to you. You may begin asking, if Allah is hearing my dua, why am I still here? But what if being stuck is not the same as being abandoned? What if something you see as a delay is actually part of Allah's protection? We naturally assume that protection should look like getting what we want. We think Allah is protecting us when the illness disappears, the money arrives, the relationship works out, or the difficult situation finally ends. But sometimes protection can look completely different. It can look like a closed door, a delayed opportunity, a relationship that does not return, or a blessing that has not arrived yet. You may only see the loss, while Allah knows what would have happened if you had received exactly what you were asking for at exactly the moment you wanted it. The source video emphasizes this idea by explaining that divine protection and divine withholding can exist at the same time. Think about how often we ask Allah for something while knowing only the beginning of the story. You know what you want, but you do not know what comes after it. You can imagine the relief of getting the job, but you cannot see what that job might do to your family or your faith. You can imagine the happiness of getting the person you love, but you cannot see what that relationship may become 5 years later. You can imagine financial success, but you cannot see whether greater wealth would strengthen your character or quietly weaken your dependence on Allah. You are asking from the perspective of today. Allah knows the entire road. This is why tawakkul is more than simply believing that Allah can give you what you want. Tawakkul means trusting Allah even when His answer does not look like the answer you expected. You keep making dua, but you stop treating your own timeline as the only acceptable outcome. You continue taking practical steps, but you also accept that Allah may close a door for reasons that you cannot understand yet. Your responsibility is to strive sincerely. The final result belongs to Allah. Sometimes the waiting period itself is mercy because it gives you time to see something you were previously too distracted to notice. It may expose an unhealthy attachment. It may force you to confront your ego. It may teach you patience. It may pull you back towards Salah after you had become distant. It may make you realize that you were placing your hope in a person, a career, money, or a future plan more than you were placing it in Allah. What looked like nothing happening may actually have been changing the direction of your heart. And there is another side to this. Sometimes Allah gives you a window to change before the consequences of your choices become much heavier. The source video describes the danger of allowing problems to continue until emotional distance, resentment, or damage becomes deeply established. The delay can therefore become an opportunity, a chance to stop, reflect, repent, correct yourself, and return to Allah before something becomes much harder to repair. So when you feel completely stuck, do not immediately conclude that Allah has forgotten you. Pause and ask a different question. What if this delay is protecting me from something I cannot see? Then ask, what is this season teaching me about myself, my nafs, and my relationship with Allah? You may still want the door to open. You may continue asking Allah for the same thing, but now you ask with a different heart. You are no longer demanding that the answer arrive according to your schedule. You're saying, Ya Allah, if this is good for me, open it in the best way and at the best time. And if it is not, protect me from what I cannot see and give me something better. Sometimes the greatest sign that your heart is changing is not that you stop wanting the blessing. It is that you stop believing you know better than Allah when it should arrive. You are not necessarily stuck because nothing is happening. Sometimes you are standing still because Allah is protecting you, preparing you, and teaching you something that you could never have learned if the door had opened too soon. The real transformation begins when you change for Allah's sake. At some point, you have to ask yourself a deeper question. Why do I actually want to change? Is it because you're afraid of losing someone? Because you want your situation to become easier? Because you want people to respect you, appreciate you, or finally recognize your efforts? Or are you changing because you genuinely want to become a better servant of Allah? This distinction may seem small, but it can completely change the direction of your spiritual journey. Many people begin changing because they want a specific result. A person may become more patient because he is afraid his marriage will fall apart. He may control his anger because he does not want his children to distance themselves from him. He may start praying more because he desperately wants Allah to solve a problem. These reasons can become the beginning of change, but they cannot always be the foundation of lasting change. Because what happens when the situation does not improve? What happens when the person you are trying to please still does not appreciate you? What happens when the dua is delayed? If your reason for changing depends entirely on the outcome, you may eventually become exhausted and return to the same behavior. This is why the deepest transformation happens when your reason changes from, I want this situation to improve, to, I want to please Allah. The source video repeatedly returns to this idea. The external action becomes stronger when it comes from an internal intention rooted in Allah, rather than insecurity, expectation, or the desire for recognition. When you change for Allah, your commitment is no longer controlled by people's reactions. You can remain patient even when nobody notices. You can apologize even when your ego tells you that the other person should apologize first. You can continue fulfilling your responsibilities even when you do not receive the appreciation you expected. You can work on your anger even when the people around you have not changed. Why? Because your transformation is no longer dependent on them. Your relationship with Allah has become the reason you continue. And this does not mean that you stop wanting your situation to improve. You can still want the marriage to heal. You can still ask Allah for financial stability. You can still pray for a better future, a loving family, or a door to open. The difference is that the outcome is no longer the only reason you obey Allah. You begin to say, Ya Allah, even before you change my circumstances, change me. Make me the person you want me to be. This is where the struggle against the nafs becomes real. Your nafs wants immediate results. It wants people to appreciate your sacrifices, apologize before you do, understand you without explanation, and reward you for your efforts. It wants Allah's answer according to your timing. But when you choose to change for Allah's sake, you stop allowing those demands to control your heart. You begin practicing patience even when it is difficult, humility even when your ego resists, and sincerity even when nobody's watching. You also begin to understand that not every transformation is immediately visible. Sometimes Allah changes your heart before He changes your circumstances. You become calmer. You become less reactive. You stop needing everyone to agree with you. You become less dependent on praise. You begin turning to Allah before turning to people. You start seeing your struggles differently, and although the problem around you may still exist, something inside you has changed. That is why real transformation can begin long before your circumstances change. The person who once said, "I will change when they change," eventually says, "I will change because Allah deserves a better version of me." The person who once needed an apology before becoming peaceful learns to seek peace through Allah. The person who once demanded appreciation learns to do good without keeping score. The person who once saw every delay as rejection begins seeing it as an opportunity to grow. So ask yourself honestly, if Allah never gave me the exact outcome I am asking for, would I still want to become better? Would I still want to purify my heart? Would I still want to control my nafs, improve my character, and draw closer to Him? That question reveals the depth of your intention. Because when you change for the sake of a person, your motivation can disappear when that person disappoints you. When you change for the sake of an outcome, your motivation can disappear when the outcome is delayed. But when you change for Allah, your reason remains even when everything around you is uncertain. And perhaps this is the transformation you have been asking for all along. You wanted Allah to change your life. Maybe He is first changing you. You wanted Allah to open a new door. Maybe He is first preparing the person who will walk through it. You wanted Allah to remove the struggle. Maybe He is using the struggle to bring you closer to Him. So do not only say, "Ya Allah, change my situation." Say, "Ya Allah, change me for your sake. And whatever you choose to change around me, let it make me closer to you." Because when the heart changes for Allah, the transformation is no longer temporary. It becomes part of who you are. And whether the circumstances change tomorrow or much later, you are no longer waiting for life to give you a reason to become better. You have already found your reason, Allah. Conclusion. Maybe you have been asking Allah for a changed life, while Allah has been preparing you for a changed heart. Sometimes the answer to your dua is not an immediate change in your circumstances. Sometimes it is the patience you develop, the attachment you finally release, the habit you finally confront, the intention you finally purify, or the closeness to Allah that you never would have discovered without the struggle. So if your life still looks the same, do not assume that Allah is doing nothing. Look deeper. Maybe you are becoming calmer. Maybe your heart is becoming stronger. Maybe your dependence on people is becoming weaker. Maybe your nafs is losing control. Maybe you are learning to trust Allah even when you cannot see what He is doing. Keep making dua. Keep taking action. Keep correcting yourself. Keep turning back to Allah. But instead of only asking, "When will my situation change?" begin asking, "Ya Allah, what do you want to change in me?" Because the greatest transformation may not be the moment the door finally opens. It may be the person you become while waiting beside that closed door. And when Allah finally changes what is around you, you may realize that He had already begun changing what mattered most. He was not only preparing a new situation for you, He was preparing you for it. So change your heart, purify your intention, leave what pulls you away from Allah, work on your character, trust His timing, and most importantly, choose to become better for Allah's sake, not only because you want your life to become easier. Because when Allah becomes the reason behind your transformation, even the waiting becomes meaningful. May Allah change what needs to be changed within us, protect us from what we cannot see, purify our intentions, strengthen our hearts, and grant us the wisdom to trust His timing, even when we do not understand His plan. Ameen. And remember, sometimes Allah doesn't change your situation first, because He is changing you first.